Thank you. Thank you very much, and welcome to Civil Service Live 2009. For the second year, we are now doing The Lion's Lair, and I'm delighted to welcome back someone who has worked with me on this. We've developed it with the great help of Ernst & Young, and this year, well, you'll see for yourself. The person I'm talking about, you may have seen him surrounded by gremlins, working with BT, or pushing a supermarket trolley. But what you probably don't know is he's in charge and has set up the National Enterprise Academy to work with government and the civil service. It's really been a true friend to the civil service and has helped us bring his entrepreneurial talents. You probably know him best from Dragon's Den, but actually if you Google him, you'll find out that this man has 15 different companies selling his socks. Ladies and gentlemen, Peter Jones.
Well, that's an intro, Gus, isn't it? The socks.
One thing you didn't know, Peter, sorry, we kept this from you as far as we can, but I was told that I had to compete.
Yes! Do you know what? We were talking just now in a briefing, and I said, Gus, can we get you next year to wear stripies? I never thought to look down and you're wearing them.
Pace, you see? We do things really quickly here.
Yeah.
No, look. I wanted to invite you back because I wanted to show you, with all the work we did last year, you were brilliant, that we've actually done something. I mean, you were quite nervous that we wouldn't actually, these great ideas, would we turn them into practice? So could we remind ourselves of one of the best from last year?
In such a diverse organisation, finding contact details for the individual can be frustrating. Rob Murphy thinks he has the answer.
It is a government-wide portal that will enable civil servants to access the directory of business of every other government department and will enable them to find who does what, in many ways, a bit like Yellow Pages.
I'm not sure that the civil service has heard this comment before, but have you ever heard of a no-brainer?
Yes, we use this term all the time.
This is a no-brainer. I'm in, love the idea, should be done. What's the next step? I'm not going to get involved in the red tape and helping you to do it, but I'm happy if you give me a stick to beat. I think it's a great idea. Well, I've got to say, Gus, that when I heard that, and in fact we then talked about it becoming civil pages,
yeah.
I was very sceptical, just for the audience, that when I first talked to Gus last year, what shocked me the most was that finding it difficult to communicate. In fact, Sir Gus couldn't even send out an email to his people, and let alone all of you. It's almost like me not being able to send an email out to all of my employees and talk about my vision and where I'm going. But what I loved about that was that was real innovation coming out from somebody within the civil service. Simple thing like Yellow Pages, civil pages. And I'll be honest, even last year I was sceptical that you would actually get it done.
Well, the difficulty is if you look out here, people from different parts of the country, different departments, there are basically 500,000 civil servants. Trying to communicate with all of them is one of the great challenges I've got. But I have now, we've got civil pages up and running. We've got another thing called Civil Wiki. We've got 175,000 civil servants on a directory that's accessible, and I am finally getting to send an email, a quarterly email, out to everybody. Actually, it's not just an email, it's in paper. So we've done a lot on the comms side, but actually last year it wasn't just about comms. I mean, there were two that stick in my mind as really quite important developments coming out of last year's Lion's Lair. The first was a guy called Jonathan Lepper, who worked with me way back in the Treasury, suffered from cystic fibrosis, had a heart-lung transplant, very seriously ill, actually recovered well after that, wanted to come back to work but do a job share, and found it very hard to come up with someone to share with. And so instead of saying, oh, isn't this very difficult, thought, how do I solve this problem for the whole of the civil service? So he created a kind of dating agency. So there is a job share website. I was at the launch of it recently in the Treasury, and that's there for everybody. So that was a brilliant idea. Second one that kind of sticks with me, and I remember you saying, again, that phrase, no-brainer, texting people, in DWP, Job Centre Plus, when people are looking for vacancies and they've arranged interviews, why don't they text them to remind them to come to the interview? And it's there, it's running. If you go to level 3 in the building, you can see a pilot of this. I think it's in Tunbridge. DWP worked on it. They're going to roll it out throughout the country. It is a brilliant example of things that happen.
Well, I don't know about you. The other thing that I picked up last year was that one thing that civil service wasn't particularly good at was celebrating success. And although we've just heard from Sir Gus what's happened, I personally want to applaud you for putting those things in place, because it will be very easy to not do it and find another reason to perhaps do something else. So I think everybody, we should applaud Sir Gus to actually say, well done, we've done something, we're moving it forward. And also, I think this event, lots of talk, is this event good or is it bad? Is it valuable? Coming from the private sector, I personally have felt it incredibly valuable to be part of this process, and I'm hoping that people from the public sector actually would stand up and actually say, do you know what, we're not just here, we're finding these sessions of intense value to us, because we really get an appreciation of actually the good things that are currently happening. And this event wouldn't happen if you weren't continuous in your push to make this happen. And this year's event, Sir Gus, is going to be, I think, even better. And what we're going to show the audience today, some of the great things that have happened. Some actually of the bad. For those of you that know me from Dragon's Den, we get some bloody awful pitches sometimes. But we also get some little gems, like reggae sauce, that ends up making it on all our shelves. And I think today we're hoping to share with you some of the little gems, those little golden nuggets that have come out from you.
Well,
should we?
Yeah, tell me, what was it like this year? Because, I was harky on the past, but, you've done it again, for which I'm really grateful. And so what did you come up with? What was it like?
Let's run the first clip. I'm looking for something that is going to make a big difference to the civil service.
I don't agree with Peter, because I think this could be a big idea.
This isn't a debate about whether this is a good idea in DSTL. This is a debate about whether this should be rolled out.
The idea of valuing everything about a person is really appealing.
I think that's demotivational for somebody that literally has got the skills of a nit. What sort of things are you working on at the moment? Anything that affects the brain, or...?
You're asking, in a very characteristic way, the question that I was thinking, which is, what's the product?
The civil service has a major issue.
We really need to find a way of reducing costs. I don't agree with you.
Why don't you?
We've all got our staff suggestion schemes, but many of them produce bugger all.
What we're looking for is things which we can roll out are new, innovative and the norm. It's our fault. Our fault at the top of the civil service.
I'd like to see Sir Gus at the next Civil Service Live dress up in a superhero's outfit.
You're missing something.
I think you're on to an absolute winner. It's a definite yes from me.
There's lots going on. We shouldn't beat ourselves up.
No, well, I think we should, actually. I really think we should.
That superhero is called Super Gus.
I'm with this. I think it's a great idea.
You've had to think of all that for yourselves.
If this is not occurring across the civil service, then I think some backsides need kicking fast.
We don't do enough to join up the various bits of innovation that are going on across the civil service, the public sector.
This forum is about finding ways to enhance and make the civil service better. Well done. Fantastic.
Hey, sounds good.
Well, it was very different to last year. Firstly, the set, we've gone our market a little bit.
Yeah, we spent some money on the set.
It was quite boutiquey, good feel.
But very good value for the taxpayer, right? Mostly provided by the private sector.
It was good. I think also the Dragons were on form. Last year I was fairly dismissive. Last year, those of you that notice, I described, I think, one of the Dragons as a bagsy. And those of you in the audience that don't know what I call a bagsy, these are people that, I don't think there's one person in this audience that doesn't know what a bagsy is when I describe them. And these are the people that actually spend all of their time. If you remember at school, used to do turn around, touch the ground, Bagsy, it's not me. Well, you imagine those people that you work with today, you spot the Bagsies. In other words, when you go into a meeting, their only objective when they go to meetings is to come out with no other objective apart from no actions. That is a Bagsy. And I said to Sir Gus, that's what we need to do, is let's get the Bagsies out of the civil service and then let's grow it. But celebrating what we've done there, Sir Gus, it was a fantastic event to be part of. I thought it was even better than last year, which even with Dragon's Den, I think one year, sometimes it's a little bit about the same or not so good. This year with Dragon's Den, it's fantastic. But seriously, it went up a notch. One of the things that I found that really came out of it was actually the good that is occurring. And I call it sort of join the dots. You know, when you're opening a colouring book, when you're giving it to your young children, you don't quite see the picture that's in front of you, but you know that actually when you join the dots up 1 to 98, it's going to give you a great picture. And I think that we need to do across the civil service more of the joining of the dots. Some great areas across the civil service deploying and doing some initiatives that are quite groundbreaking, yet other parts of the civil service totally unaware of it. And one of the clips, I'm going to do a selection of clips for you all now, but one of the clips in particular is about parliamentary questions, and I'd like us to run that clip and we can have a little chat about it.
The main attributes of PQ Online would be pre-populated templates and functions, which allow for a secure audit trail. It would have direct links to .online, ParliNet and Hansard. It would have a tracking system, so you would identify who at any stage in the process is the owner of that PQ and at what stage they're at. But I think it needs to be implemented as soon as possible, and I would appreciate your support.
Is it mostly about saving money, or is it about better quality answers? Or do you think it can do both?
I think you can do both.
I like the idea of joining up questions that were all asked. I'm much less keen on the idea of changing all our other systems for the questions that are just for us.
Peter Jones has been thinking it over and points Chris in the direction of a bigger idea.
If you came and said, look, I've got an idea to give MPs more knowledge or give them an understanding of what's going on, and I'm going to set up civilgoogle.com, kind of get it.
Yeah.
But you didn't say that.
In the germ of what Chris presented to us was the idea of reusability. We've added something to that, which is don't wait, in a way, to be asked the question, kind of have frequently asked questions up there.
The mood of the moment is more transparency around Parliament. So on that basis, I'm in and I'm happy to help you to develop a concept.
I like it only if we can incorporate Ask Civil or Ask Service as a search engine in the existing civil service central website. Well, the reason for putting that clip up was pure and simple, was just to reinforce this whole thing about sharing ideas, because it's clear, and those of you sitting around, I'm sure that you work either in departments that you think things are not so good in certain areas, but you speak to other people across the public sector and realise the good is happening over there. So for me, it was about exploiting this sharing of the ideas. How do we focus in on the good things that are happening and throw them over the fence to other areas? I mean, the bottom line is, why isn't this bloody happening anyway?
I know. Well,
I'm sorry to swear.
No. Peter's never been renowned for his politically correct language, but we forgive him that. You're right, I think is the first thing to say. And this is where Civil Pages, Civil Wiki, all of these kinds of things can come in, where we can actually say to people, look, here's some space. We can develop some responses. We can put ideas out there. We can have people's comments on them. We can feedback. A kind of Facebook for the civil service that doesn't involve highly secret people in their Speedos. That's
or in their capes.
Or in their cape. No, there'll be no capes, right? Let's be clear. The socks is almost a step too far as I'm concerned, but no capes. So you've got some more clips about this sort of thing.
The next one is from somebody from Company's House, I think, and it's Tom Smith. So if we can roll this clip.
Smith, I'm the Director of Operations and Customer Service. Ryan Davis is one of my operational team leaders, a team of 12 people. Basically, over the past couple of years, we've transformed our main operational processes. We've done it by borrowing some techniques basically from manufacturing, from world-class manufacturing. The results have been absolutely brilliant. Productivity's gone way up. It used to take us 10 days to get a piece of paper from receipt to being on the register. It now takes us 2 to 3. Staff morale has gone through the roof. It's been absolutely brilliant.
What I think I'm hearing is something that looks like lean management techniques.
In a nutshell, staff implement their own ideas. So that's what it is in a nutshell. Staff on the ground level get the opportunity to implement their own suggestions.
So what's the difference between me coming up with an idea, going to my middle management and asking him whether he thinks it's a good idea?
Because what's always happened in the past is that it just gets trapped in the bureaucracy.
Has this kind of given you all confidence to do something different?
Ideas generate more ideas, and like you said, it comes down to a confidence thing. And then if a colleague come up with an idea and then it was implemented across the organisation, so staff feel more encouraged to work better, higher morale if they're making the suggestions, not being told what to do.
I tell you what, I can't believe we're having this conversation, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm actually sad that I'm having a conversation about the civil service finding better ways to communicate openly with their staff, to inform their staff of what their job function is, to be inspired to make a difference, to be passionate about changing things.
What you've had to do, and it's our fault at the top of the civil service, you've had to think of all that for yourselves and find your system. I'm really up for this. I'm up for using you as one of the champions for how we get that really industrialised across the civil service.
Well, I mean, this is the one, Gus, that actually you can see made me angry and sad all in one, because even I know that the work that I've done the last 2.5 years with you, there are some great things that happen. There are some brilliant joining of the dots, but it's just not getting out there.
But to be honest, it's an example of the good and the bad. The good is that we've got frontline people who feel completely up for and ways of improving things. The bad news is they're all in one area and we're rediscovering this wheel 101 times. And it's, as Helen said there, it's our fault. We're not finding ways to share this information, to spread it. So everybody's going about discovering it themselves. Now, there's a good part to that, which is actually the solutions in the front line in every different department and every different office may be slightly different. The problem is we're having to start from scratch each time. And wouldn't it be better if people were to say, well, how did you think about solving that service system? How about making these form filling a lot easier, all of those sorts of things. So it's the good and the bad of the civil service.
Okay. I don't know whether anybody here, I'm going to put a question out to you actually. My question to you is, do you feel, or do you have, in terms of management infrastructure above you, could you put your hands up if you feel frustrated that actually your ideas or your questions, you sometimes get just demotivated because you know there's not going to be a change occurring, nothing will be done about it, so you kind of just sit tight and just get on with your job as best your ability. Could you just put your hand up if you feel at any point, or have done, frustrated about ideas that are not implemented? That's quite a lot there.
Okay, bit of work to be done.
Okay.
That's the challenge, really, isn't it?
Well, is there one of the things that we've got here, which is going to come up to, is something called, which we're calling Compare the Training. So I'm hoping that we will come out with a solution for all of this, Gus, whether we can persuade Gus to actually look at this area. But if we can run the next clip, Compare the Training, I'd like to potentially ask you for a commitment.
I'm Anne Hall, I work at the Cabinet Office, and I have an idea which will revolutionise the way we deliver learning and development within the civil service. Let's call it Compare the Training. It's a web-based cross-government learning and development hub with a training comparison tool at its heart. What I want to do is suggest that we build a single marketplace for internal and external training providers. A way of searching and sorting the information so that it was easily searchable and comparable. And we would make available a means of people reviewing and rating the training that they go on so that we can help other people understand whether there was quality in that course, whether it delivered the right kind of objectives that they were looking for. I think that we can also find ways of monetising this so that we can start to invite training providers to list their ideas. They can advertise, possibly. They perhaps can sponsor pages.
One thing that really has impressed me, you are the only person today to have taken time to have done proper research, spoken to the right people yourself. You almost don't need Lions to make this happen. You're going to make it happen yourself. I would like to say congratulations to you, because it's a bit of a breath of fresh air to meet somebody that has wanted to make a difference, found out how to make a difference, gone about making a difference and taking action. Well done. Fantastic.
This is a way we can share our experiences and get better value for money and increase the skills of our workforce. I think it's fabulous.
You had feedback as core as part of what you've just said. This is a little uncivil service-like to allow such feedback to be published, to be visible. So you're buying into that, Helen. That's terrific.
I'm buying into that. I think we want to develop a better culture of saying what we mean.
I think this is really great. I think it's got real opportunities to do imaginative things, take some costs out, and actually get people on courses that really matter to them. Thank you and well done.
Hey.
Well, I mean,
success.
Well, yeah, this one was for me was really good, because Anne definitely showed clear thought, great idea, but the way that she was dogged about it, I really admired her. You know, she was so driven to make this happen. But it was also a great idea. You know, sharing resources, all of the great things that we talked about.
You do comparison websites, don't you?
I've done one or two. I've been on a trolley lately, which I'll be honest, I didn't really enjoy, because we did this take on the trolley, and I then said, look, you know, I don't think it should go into them. And they said, oh no, it's fantastic. So they gave me 2 guys to wheel me down at about 22 miles an hour. I needed to get up to 18 miles an hour on the trolley. I had the best time of my life. It was fantastic. So when you see me going, wee, I was really motoring down a supermarket, a lane, I promise you. But no, Gus.
Back to the training.
You're trying to sideline it. I'd like some sort of commitment here. Who thinks that last one would be a good idea? Oh, crikey, look at this. Who would also like a commitment from Sir Gus to say that we're going to go and make this happen? Because last year with Civil Pages, he made it happen. And he made it happen on the basis of us trying to push him to do it. He saw it, he implemented it. If you say you want this to happen, it will happen. If I say it, he kind of just looks at me and says, okay, we'll look at it, Peter, and think about it. If you tell him now to make this happen, I reckon he'll do it. Hands up if he should do it.
Right, okay, well, thank you very much. It's what we call upward tasking in the civil service, this. Yeah, to be honest, I'm a big fan. This, to my mind, I've used TripAdvisor at home when you're doing the booking your holidays. I see the nods around the place, and I'd envisage this as being a website where you could go on a course, or you're looking for a course, and be able to actually see other civil servants, probably in similar situations to you, who've been on the course, and they'll be able to say, this is a great course, but the accommodation's terrible, or this is a great course, it's at a brilliant place, I was inspired, but it's far too expensive, you know, and then we can go in and negotiate the price down, and we can pay for it because we can get providers to come in. So, you know, and I've already, because I know you wanted to back this one, so I thought, well, if Peter's going to back it, you know, I'd probably better make it happen. So I've been talking with Andrew MacDonald of Government Skills to make sure, with him and Rod Clark from the National School of Government and Jerry Arnott from DWP, so we are going to try and make this happen. But it will require all of you to participate. You know, if you're going to go on a training course, I want you to look for this site and then to use it and to provide the feedback. You know, if we don't get really good feedback, it won't happen. So it's in your hands. And it's, if it goes wrong, it's all of your fault, right?
No. Could we say that again without the word try and make it happen?
Okay.
We will make it happen.
We'll make this happen.
Come on!
I can assure you.
Well done, Gus.
Okay.
Okay. Now, talking of good ideas, I want you to really think about this one.
Mm-hmm.
Not just dismiss it openly. I know you know what's coming. I know that yesterday you were dead against it.
Mm-hmm.
You've probably had time to think about it, to sleep on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like you just to reconsider, because I think it, you know, talking to some people out here that saw it yesterday, they would like to see it happen. So could we run the next clip, but please keep an open mind, Gus.
The idea involves designing a mascot, a superhero, someone that we should all aspire to. So without further ado, let me present to you the creation of what I see our mascot being. Hero has, although it's big blue boots, they're fantastic. It's the boots of firm understanding. We also have the gauntlets of correction. These mighty gauntlets are the key to the ability to navigate our way through our guidance, policy, procedures.
I think we're all too good in the civil service at talking about things in words. You know, we've got our civil service code and our values and all those sorts of things. That brings it to life.
If you'd come into Dragon's Den and pitch this idea, I'd think you're an absolute bloody lunatic. But because you've pitched it in the forum of what this is all about, this forum is about finding ways to enhance and make the civil service better. Tony, I'm going to tell you exactly where I am straight away. I'm in. And I'll tell you why I'm in. I'd even love to sponsor it on the basis of the fact that I'd like to see Sir Gus at the next Civil Service Live dress up in a superhero's outfit. I think that if he produced and we produced a doll that could go through to every single team leaders within the civil service, and the meaning is but fun, it's taking ourselves outside of our box, but it's sending some messages, subliminal messages in a very subtle way. You know, people might throw darts at it, people might caress it, there'll be different opinions, but I like the inspiration. I mean, picture the Sir Gus sort of, well, the god, superhero, that you can press buttons on. Mm-hmm. It will talk about your 4 Ps, which are very passionate to you in your voice. Mm-hmm. People can take it to bed at night. Memory being reinforced with the vision of the public sector and the civil service and all the great things you're doing. And then also, because of technology today, we can have a little SIM card in it and you can send your updates when things change, so people can play what the latest update is. It's like getting your live bat phone straight into the heart of every civil servant's home.
Peter, you asked me to reconsider this. I have thought long and hard, and the answer is no way. I mean, they wouldn't want me to. They wouldn't expect me to,
Hands
would
up
they?
if you'd really like to see that.
Okay, we've
Hands
created a large number of vacancies in the civil service just there. Career limiting, that's what I call those hands, right?
I think the reason for putting that up for me was, yes, light-hearted, but actually it is about the work that's done across the civil service. There is so much, unfortunately, there is negativity out there. And actually for all areas, even from media, to be blunt. And I think that also we need to perhaps turn and face the music to a certain extent and actually say, do you know what? There's some amazing things happening here. We have got some individual superheroes, not just Sir Gus, but we've got a lot of superheroes doing some things that actually are it's quite debilitating work. You know, working in call centres, taking pretty dismissive calls, you know, chasing taxis, you know, all these things are actually quite difficult tasks.
Yeah.
Quite mindless tasks to an extent because they don't get the pat on the back that they deserve. And I think that actually you all are, to a certain extent, superheroes. Yes, I've gone over the top there, suggesting you might wear a leotard and mask. I tried. But the serious nature and the message there was there's some amazingly good things that are happening here. Celebrating success coming on from last year. Yeah. You're all superheroes. And I think that we should get the message out there. There's a lot of good happening.
Well, I try. I mean, as head of the civil service, I travel around quite a lot, and most recently in Afghanistan, going out to Kabul and then to Helmand to see civil servants working alongside our military who are doing a fantastic job, but to see those people from the Ministry of Defence, but also from DFID, you know, working there on reconstruction, very, very difficult circumstances. You know, even if you're working in Kabul, a relatively safe place, some of the people there, when they go shopping, they've got bodyguards with them when they go shopping. They're living in sheltered accommodation. They can go to any restaurant in the city as long as it's one of 2, and they have to change. You know, I've got some real superheroes who are out there really working very hard. And it's not just those, as you say, frontline. I was in Job Centre Plus in Marylebone recently, meeting someone who is providing advice to newly unemployed people. Now, they've had a massive surge in the number of people claiming benefits, obviously with a big increase in unemployment. And they are working round the clock, and they are succeeding, getting more people than ever back into jobs. So there is real, as you say, unsung heroes out there. Plymouth, I was in Plymouth, Child Support Agency, the Insolvency Service, all of these areas where, because of the recession, they're actually having an enormous amount more pressure. And there's 101 superheroes out there. They can wear the capes, you know, but it's tremendous. And I just wish I could find a way to get them more recognition. You know, we've done the Civil Servant of the Year awards. We try really hard to do that. I know departments are copying it. They've all got their awards processes. But if we could just get it across, you know, one of my challenges is to try to get the concept of a modern civil service that is providing real value for taxpayers' money. And I'm doing something, plug, on the Politics show on Sunday, 11 o'clock. Have a look, and you'll see some footage from here and from civil servants in various places doing brilliant jobs.
And I've seen that. I've been doing this now for a while. I've seen that firsthand. And I think that we should celebrate it more. I do think that events like this, I think all of us, not just us here on stage, I think all of us in this audience have got a job to do to be blunt, to be positive, to talk it up if it needs talking up, but also to openly communicate more. This is about a way of everybody touching you, Gus, really, not touching Peter Jones. But I think this is really important because it forms the whole communication and breaks down the communication barriers. And I can tell you firsthand the work that's going on behind the scenes. Siobhan and the team and everything is behind Sir Gus. They're like little mice with about 12 legs. They're running as fast as they can, and things are happening. And I'm telling you firsthand they're happening, and I'm really pleased that they are. So I think Sir Gus deserves a round of applause just for saying he is here, he's committed. I promise you he's going to deliver. And he's committed on a major point today that is as big as the civil service is civil pages from last year. So Sir Gus, well done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.